Awesome. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome, welcome. It's a perfect day to talk flood. It's rainy in Jersey, which I feel like it always is. But
Awesome. Well, while you are joining, we've got a icebreaker question here. I'm going to go ahead and launch this poll relating to the weather. So
it's almost
first,
like a new
yeah. Is this your favorite season? And you know what? Since we're on a flood webinar, it can, you don't have to be swayed in any direction. And then second question is just your familiarity with quoting Neptune through Attune. And while you're answering the polls, we can go ahead and do a round of introductions. My name is Claire. I am on the marketing team here at Attune. And Shane is also from Attune, Carrier Partnerships Manager.
And I'll introduce the Neptune team. So I'm Jean-Luc Eckstein, the Chief Customer Officer, oversees sales and services. With me is Jake Hogan, who is our new Director of Commercial Distribution Lines. And also with me is Nick. Nick is one of our newer team members as well, as a territory sales manager covering Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and New York.
awesome. I know we can't vote on the icebreaker, but I think my answer is fall. I like the hoodie weather.
Fall for me as well.
Awesome. Okay, I will go ahead and end this poll here and we can go ahead and get started. And I'll share the results just in case anyone is curious. No one said summer.
Way too hot.
Jean-Luc, do you want to kick us off?
I'll jump in. Yeah. Thanks everyone for spending some time with us today. Appreciate it. We should not be using the full hour. We'll certainly get some time back to you all. But certainly we'll go through quite a few different topics today. First, we'll do a quick update on Neptune. There's some new items that Neptune has brought to all of our agents in the form of optional coverages, new products like Excess. So we'll touch on all those. We'll reiterate Neptune's value prop as how and where we go to market for you all, and the value that we bring to your customers. We'll quickly go through a quote to bind process, and in that process, if there are any questions that you may have as it relates to any particular feature in our system, please raise your hand, type into the chat feature. We'll be sure to elaborate further on that. And then finally, we'll end with a bit of tips and tricks in the system, some further updates, and then just a broader Q&A. So please, as I just alluded to, as we go through this, and maybe that's what this comment is in the Q&A already, is if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A section. Either myself I'll answer live, or Nick or Jake with me today will answer that. I'll let Jake take this one. I see he's jumping on answering that right now. So with that, let's jump in, and why flood insurance is so important, especially today heading into this hurricane season or / flood season. I feel like every year for the last 5 to 10 years, I've heard this hurricane season is going to be the worst hurricane season to come. And mainly because I live in Tampa, Florida, but this season seems to be gearing up to be one of the worst, and truly the worst from what the data and the stats show as it relates to the weather patterns. What I mean by that are really two things. The first is the switch from the weather pattern of El Nino to La Nina. That changes the upper winds, which reduce those winds in a westerly direction, which actually favors the creation of hurricanes. And then two, in that same area where those winds will no longer be, there is, and I'll share my screen so you can see this, there in the Atlantic creation zone of hurricanes, the water temperature is as warm today as it normally is in July. And so those two things combined are the absolute fuel for hurricanes. And so this is a very important conversation to ensure that everyone within your book of business, everyone that is going to be in your book of business between now and hurricane season, you should be having the conversation of flood, especially if they're in a state or an area that is susceptible to a hurricane storm surge. I'm happy to send this around. There was quite a few articles on this that was just published. Axios is the one I'm using. New York Times and quite a few other publications put this out. So I'm happy to share this around with the group afterward. With that, though, let's jump into Neptune real quick. So I'm going to breeze through this, but if we have, again, any questions, let us know. Neptune really goes to market with two value props. The first is we make it super easy to quote and bind a policy in our system. Through the Attune integration, your quote will automatically be generated once you just enter the address. That's all we need, and that's all we'll provide back as a quote, and then you can then make any updates thereafter in our system. We do allow for 98% property availability across the United States. And because of this API integration and the ease of use, we've seen that it enables agents and agencies to sell 2 to 3x the flood that they've used to sell. Again, as I mentioned, all we need is an address to provide a quote for you. And then we like to think of our system as a bind it and forget it type system. Once you bind that policy, our system will handle the rest. We'll chase any party that has an action due relative to that particular policy, or we'll handle the renewal process. We'll do everything for you, including filing the taxes and the fees with the particular state. The second main value prop we go to market with is that we offer greater and broader coverage than that of the NFIP. So an example is we go up to 4 million on coverage A and up to 500,000 on coverage B. Across all of our product types, we offer 12 high-value optional coverages. On the commercial form specifically, we offer 4, none of which are available through the NFIP. Those 4, I'll be sure to elaborate on more when we get to the demo. All to say, these two value props have really propelled Neptune to become the largest private flood insurance company in the country. We have 180,000 clients today, and adding about 1,000 clients a week. We are in 49 states plus District of Columbia. Our latest expansion was into the state of Kentucky, and that was in January of this year. We're super excited about, and unfortunately at the moment, there's no roadmap to get into Alaska. We are 100% excess and surplus lines, and so please keep that in mind as you are binding. Again, we will handle all of the state filings for you. We do offer primary flood and excess flood for all product types. I'll be talking on both of those in a bit when we get to the demo part. And all to say, we have navigated 6 successful hurricane seasons and are entering our 7th. Here's a quick visual just to show you our coverage map across the United States. And then here's a quick side-by-side comparison for commercial Neptune to the NFIP commercial form. So building coverage, again, up to 4 million, contents up to 500,000. We are hoping to bring a higher limit on the contents mid-summer. We're looking to increase that from 500,000 to 1 million. So stay tuned for updates there. And then the optional coverages that we offer for the commercial product are business interruption, replacement cost on the building, which is a new optional coverage, basement contents, and pool repair and refill. The other optional coverage that we do offer on the commercial form, but specific to apartments, is $500,000 in loss of rents. We never require an elevation certificate. It's optional. If you have one, I'll show you where you can enter that in. And then in this last row, we have a standard 10-day wait period compared to the NFIP's 30-day wait period. You can waive that wait period for one of 2 reasons. The first is a real estate transaction of sorts, including cash, and the second is a rollover from another flood policy. Pause there. I'm going to look real quickly to Jake, Nick, if there were any questions that came in that you want me to answer live. If not, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and pass it over to Shane. Good.
I think we're all set.
Yeah, thank you, Jean-Luc. I will start sharing my screen. My screen coming through?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, so as Jean-Luc was talking about, what we want to do now is really show how easy it is to get a Neptune quote through the Attune Neptune integration. Before I get into the actual demo, one thing I'd like to point out for folks who may be newer to the Attune portal is this support tab over here on the left. If you click this, you're actually able to download the Neptune Flood guidelines at any time. And so by clicking that, you'll go to download and you'll be able to reference this. You can print it out if you'd like, if you prefer a paper copy, or you can go back to this download and kind of go through the tips and tricks we talk about. But with that, I will show you how in minutes you can get a Neptune quote and a few other things I'd like to point out when navigating the quote. So as Jean-Luc mentioned, it really is as simple as the address. All you need to do for folks who missed it is create a new client up here in the top. Enter the company name. I'll do Shane's McDonald's. Do an address in North Carolina. So this is my second McDonald's. You can enter the class code, restaurant, fast food. And what you'll be able to do is if you scroll down, you'll instantly be able to access this quote in the Neptune portal. But one thing I like to point out is, say you're working on a business owner's policy first, you can click get a quote. I'll skip this portion for the sake of time for the demo. But say you complete the BOP quote, what our system will do is we will automatically ping Neptune's API, and we will return not only the risk exposure for your knowledge, but also a premium indication for you. So for example, this one is a flood risk low with 827 indication. It could be flood risk medium, it could be flood risk high. And this is for you to know, hey, maybe I should be offering this client and be sure that they know their exposure. From there, we click Visit Neptune. This has a few tips and tricks here regarding the commission, things like that. If we click Go to Quote, this will bring us right into the Neptune system where a lot of the information is already pre-filled for you, but this will allow you to complete the quote. One thing I do want to call out is that the Attune Neptune integration is only set up for their commercial offering, but that doesn't mean you only have to write commercial products. We hope that you do, but through your appointment with Attune, you actually have access to all of the products that Neptune offers. And in order to get there, it's actually a very, very simple workaround. You would go ahead and create the account like you would, say it's for a residential address. It would bring you to this system or to this screen. If you then go to the top left here, the Neptune agent portal, if you click this, it will bring it to the main page of the Neptune system. And all you would have to do is enter the address once more. Charlotte, North Carolina. We click create quote at the top there. Just went through. And this would bring you to the entire shelf that Neptune offers. As you'll see, there's residential, there's also commercial, and there's also this new excess flood insurance offering that Jean-Luc was mentioning. And to get to excess flood, it's as simple as clicking to the right there. But with that, I will pause if there are any questions about the Attune portal side, if I went too fast on something. But other than that, I will pass it back to Jean-Luc to go through the Neptune flow itself.
Thanks, Shane. Let me grab this. All right, you all should be seeing my screen here. Once you bridge over from the Attune portal, you'll land here on this particular page. At the top here, real quickly, you'll see that we have the Google Map image here. You see the location of the property that you're quoting. Right below that in this first section is the inception date. Again, we default this to 10 days. So please make sure if that needs to be updated to today's date or any other date that you are mindful of that, and go ahead and select the appropriate date. Below that, we get to the eligibility section. We defaulted this to no, this is not used for residential purposes. And then we defaulted this to no, there are no prior flood losses. There is no national database of all private flood companies and the NFIP on all prior claims. And so this is to the best knowledge of the insured relative to that property. If they own the property the entire time since it was built, the answer is applicable that entire time. If they bought the property 5 years ago, but it was built 15 years prior to that, and there's no disclosure of a prior flood in the closing documents, then it's just for the 5 years that they've owned that property. Following that, we get to property information. So here you can see that we pull in details of the year built, the square footage, the flood zone, etc. All of these can be updated by you if there was a material update to the property that was just completed in 2024 but has not yet been digitized. You can go ahead and make that update right here. Earlier, I mentioned that ECs are optional with Neptune. We default to no, but if you do have one, you can select yes and then enter the lower of C2A or C2E to the second decimal. The premium will quickly blur, update, and then once it is updated, you then, if it had an adverse impact to the premium by increasing it, you can just remove the elevation certificate by selecting no, and we'll then revert back to the original price that we displayed. The next 3 selections here are defaulted, and for you to confirm. If there are any updates that need to be made, please make the correct selection and then you can continue on. For this one, I'm actually just gonna go ahead and change it from wood frame to masonry. It is I do own the building, let's say, and then for the foundation type, if you hover over any of these foundation selections, an image carousel will appear. You can toggle through and say, yep, that's the one I'm looking for. Those are the exact same images that the NFIP uses, so to reduce any confusion between Neptune and the NFIP. Following that, we get to our coverage section here. Let's say you actually want 1 million in coverage. You can type it in, or you can use the slider. Again, the premium will blur and then repopulate there at the bottom. We do default to a $5,000 deductible. You can make a selection here with whatever is needed, and then you get to our optional coverages. So here on the optional coverages, we do allow for pool repair and refill up to $20,000. We have this business interruption cover with 2 different limits, up to $25,000 or $50,000, and then a replacement cost on the building. The other option is if this was an apartment building, the loss of rents option would then show for up to $500,000. After that, you get to the application section. Put in the named insured, which is the company name. You can then put in the primary contacts information. If there's a secondary contact, go ahead and enter that information in. And if there's a lien holder, you can go ahead and enter that information in as well. After that, there's a few different options down here that you can leverage. The first is the view email quote button. This is if you would like to go ahead and email this quote to your insured, you may do so just by clicking this. This will pull in the email that you entered in as the primary contact. You then can go ahead and click email. It'll send them a copy of it with your contact information on it, or you can download that quote and then send it off to yourself if you prefer that. Let's say you've offered that quote and for one reason or another, the insured declined to move forward with that flood coverage with you. You can then send them a rejection email. This rejection email is designed to protect your E&O. So the whole idea here is we will document when the email is sent, the status of signature, and if they do sign that declination or the rejection form, we send you a completed copy for your records. We also keep it on our side in case anything happens in the future. You're more than welcome to reach out to us. The nice piece in this feature is that if you do send this, we actually give them an off ramp or a change their mind ramp where they then could self-fulfill online where you would still be the agent of record and you would still get full commission. So just highlighting that that's a feature that a lot of agents do use. And within the agents that use that, we've seen about a 5% people changing their mind and actually going ahead and buying that policy. All right. If there are no questions, I'm going to continue and go ahead and click the bind button. Once you click the bind button, you'll be binding as the agent here. The first screen that appears is a signature page. You'll just sign as the agent. The first attestation here is just that you acknowledge a 10-day wait period or it's been waived for one of the applicable reasons. The second is you attest to everything that you've entered is correct to the best of your knowledge. And then in the case of North Carolina, there's an affidavit acknowledgement that this is a diligent effort state. Once you complete that, you'll go ahead and click continue. We then serve up a payment wizard. Neptune never requires payment at time of bind. We do allow up to 40 days post inception for payment to be made. Payment can be made either via ACH, credit card, or paper check. And then you can just toggle between these selections and then go ahead and find the appropriate information for those next steps. Again, this only happens to be if you're over the phone with the insured and they want to go ahead and give you the ACH details to enter in. Otherwise, you can bypass this, click view policy, and we will send the bill directly to the named insured. For now, I'll click view policy. Once you land on the policy management page, there's a few things here I want to highlight. The first is this left-hand modal, the current status. If you, this updates in real time. So as a policy is paid, it'll go from a red exclamation point to a green check mark, and similarly with any signatures that are outstanding. So that's the first thing I want to highlight here. Jumping back to the middle modal, I want to highlight that if you scroll down to the policy document section, we render all documents instantaneously for you. Here's the deck page view. So you can come here, download it, send it off to wherever you would like. Any questions that have come in? Cool. Let's talk on a few other updates. One of them is excess flood. So if you navigate back to the Neptune main page here and you enter in an address, as Shane showed, you can then find our primary flood options and then our excess flood options. Our excess flood product is brand new. It came out in January of this year, and a lot of agents are leveraging it for their insureds where they currently have an NFIP policy and they don't feel like they have adequate coverage through the NFIP. So what do I mean by that? Neptune's excess product allows agents and customers to select optional coverages in our excess policy. And in the event of a claim or a flood loss, Neptune's optional coverages that have been elected onto that policy will respond as primary. And so this gives a nice wrapper to that NFIP policy where there are no optional coverages available. So if you have an NFIP policy or a customer does, you can get a Neptune excess policy, add on business interruption or loss of rents. And then in the event of a flood, those will respond as primary for you. That is a big differentiation that we bring on our excess product, and do want to call that out. Happy to run an excess quote if anyone would like to see that. Just please drop that in the chat feature and I'll do that for sure. I see
That was me actually just asking this group if we wanted to maybe go through that excess quote process and if they are writing excess currently.
happy to quickly run through a commercial one real fast. I'll put in Neptune's headquarters address. So again, I'll toggle over as Shane was showing, click excess. You'll see all the pink branding to let you know you're on the excess page. I'm going to go scroll down to the Main Street Mercantile building, click excess flood. Once you're on this excess page here, again, you'll see a lot of similarities to our primary product. Go ahead, and Florida requires the producer name to be on the deck page. That's why that was required here and not required on the North Carolina one. Once you get to this point, answer the eligibility question of any prior flood losses. No, it's masonry. I'm going to pretend again that I own this building. It is slab on grade. It is 2 stories. And I want 1 million in coverage. So technically, this person then has a NFIP policy at 500,000. This is actually 1.5 million then in total coverage. Let's say I also want 50,000 in BI and I want to add replacement cost. Again, both of those are not available at the NFIP. And in the event of a flood, those would respond as primary optional coverages. Again, from here, you would fill in the named insured information. And then I'm going to verify that this is the correct mailing address. And then once you enter in those details, you can then go ahead and click bind down here and move forward with that. And that's how easy our excess product is as well. Any questions there? Was that helpful? Good. All right. Jumping back to our main portal, there are a few things I want to highlight as well. The first is agent resources. If you come to this upper right dropdown, click Flood, you'll land on our resource hub where you'll find product flyers, videos, forms, and sample policy packets. Here, you can select commercial agent. You'll see the information as it relates to our commercial product, and then information for our commercial product as well. Scrolling a little bit further down, you'll have our forms here, you'll have a sample policy packets, and then you have short video clips on certain topics that you can then use as well to navigate through our system. The one other flyer that our topic here I want to mention is this multi-location flyer. We provide a service for all agents where if you are working with a multi-location account or SOV, a statement of values, where it's 5 buildings or above, you can send that to us and we will quote it for you. We'll return back the quote numbers, the premiums, the flood zones, any notes or thoughts that we have on any particular building, and they'll be quoted under your code. And then ultimately, if you get the bind order, you can let us know and we will bind those on your behalf as well. And then we'll consolidate all the documents for you. Again, it's a white glove service that we provide for agents that have multi-location accounts of 5 buildings or more. In order to get that started, if you do have that as an opportunity, you can go ahead and email Gabby@neptuneflood.com and she will take lead on working with you on that opportunity for you. All right, jump back here, round out with a few slides and then any Q&A. So quick flood facts across the United States, basic law, including the commercial side. If the building is in a high-risk flood zone, a mandatory flood zone that starts with the letter A or V as in Victor, then it's required by, and they have a mortgage, then it's required by law that they have flood insurance. So if not you, someone else certainly. Being an X zone does not mean they're not at risk. 60% of our daily sales are X zone policies, mean by definition, NFIP flood definition, those are lower risk policies. So offering flood every time at new business and renewal is very important, as you can add more policies per relationship and then ultimately earn more commission. The last one here I want to highlight is number 6, which is Neptune's lowest premium on the commercial side is at $600, and our average on the commercial side is just over $3,000. Some scripts here. I'm happy to send this around to Shane and Claire to send out afterward as well, including the link to this webinar. This just gives you quick scripts if it's an A or a V zone, if it's an X zone, or if someone asks you, well, what is the definition of a flood? And then finally, I'll end on some support. So we do have a customer success team standing by to assist you and or your customers at any point. We offer support Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then Jake, who's joined me on this call, is our Director of Commercial Lines Distribution. Please reach out to Jake if you have any questions. And then you have my contact information here as well if you need any help or assistance with anything. I would like to hear from you. That's all I have. Hope this was helpful. What questions do you have? Talking about the claim process, the claims, if one of your customers experiences a flood loss, either you or them could file a first notice of loss with Neptune. You can do that by email, phone, or through our chatbot. Our chatbot, about 35% of our first notice of loss are submitted through that channel. And once that happens, Neptune will process that first notice of loss immediately and send notification to our third-party administrator, PIB, to then assign an account manager and an adjuster to then adjudicate that claim. At that time, when we send the information to PIB, we also will send an email to the insured, CCing you, the agent, with a guide to the claims process. That guide basically sets the expectations and timeline of what to expect when, and who to reach out to if you have any questions during the process. So we just try to give some insight into that, because we've heard from agents that sometimes insureds may feel like their claim or their situation goes into the abyss and they don't hear. Not specific to Neptune, but in general, and so we're trying to mitigate against that. We have paid out over 4,000 claims on 4,000 policies, and which amount to over 120 million in claims. And so the system has been tested, and it's ready for this hurricane season as well. Speaking or bringing up our chatbot also is all with the notion of trying to be additive for you and or your customer. If you are needing to pay a policy, you can pay through the chatbot. If you want to endorse a policy, you can do so through the chatbot. There's a lot of functionality and feature within that chatbot that it'll automatically do. And also, if you have a customer that prefers to speak Spanish as a first language, the chatbot is all integrated and can handle and manage Spanish as well. Cool. Shane, Claire, any topic I may have missed that you think I should go ahead and highlight?
No, I think you covered everything, and I apologize. I might have been on mute before. If you don't mind sending those slides after the webinar, that would be great, so we can make sure to distribute. I guess before I continue, I just wanted to pause for anyone in the webinar. I know that was a lot of information fast, but our goal is to make you feel comfortable and professionals leaving this webinar. So if there's anything you'd like us to go back and show again, please feel free to drop that in. But otherwise, Jean-Luc, I think you covered all of the topics. We do have some very good news for the month of April. We're actually running a promotion at the moment where every commercial policy that is bound in April and is fully paid and active by the end of May will be entered to win a $1,000 raffle. So like I said, now that you're leaving this webinar feeling like professionals and comfortable, to quote commercial, you do have a chance to win $1,000 for those policies.
Awesome. Happy to hang out if anyone has any questions in particular. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining. And I'm glad I was able to keep to my promise that we would absolutely give you time back.
Yeah, thank you everyone for attending.
And we did have a few winners. We had 3 gift card winners, so I'll follow up via email with those. But congrats to our participants, Emma Walker, John Eberhardt, and Terry Williams. You 3 are the gift card winners for today's webinar, and you'll be receiving that via email.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks again, everyone.